We are live, everybody. I just need to get one thing, which is my everybody here. Hey guys, let me invite my girl Amanda. This is gonna be interesting. Two Amandas together. Did I invite her? Yes. Hello, everybody. Happy what day is today? Ooh, happy Wednesday. I'm good. Good. How are y'all doing? I haven't done a live in such a long time, right, Franco? I haven't done a live in such a long time. Life has been pretty crazy. I need to get back though, because I love doing these lives. Um, while we get together here and start doing things, we just get something out of the way. Big City Apple. Oh my goodness. All my old peeps in here. God bless you, Patrick. So good to see everybody. Let me put some filter here because I can't. I miss doing lives too. Wait, this light is too much. Oh, can't even see it. Am I getting old? I'm not getting old. I'm getting better. So guys, let me just take something out of the way while we're here before we start, because I might be attacked. I hired this guy to do Instagram page boosts. You know, all these offers we get, like, hey, come here, let me do a page boost for you, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, let me try. Every once in a while, I try to see if I can find somebody who's good. Thank you, Big City Apple. And I tried this guy, and it was a total scam. I paid him, and it was just like fake likes and not follows. It was just fake likes. I'm like, okay, of course, that doesn't help me in any way, shape, or form, because I don't make money based on how many likes I get on my Instagram. I make money of how many clients I get. So regardless of that, I paid the guy. The guy got his money, and 2 weeks later, he came like, oh, I didn't receive the payment. You need to send it again. He changed the name of the Instagram. He changed the email. He said, like, send it to this other thing. And I was like, block him, because of course he's trying to scam me. And now he's doing all these virtual attacks on me. But that's okay, because that's just a sign that you're winning when you piss some people off. But that's not what we're coming to talk about. I'm just saying that because he might just show up here and start sending some crazy, stupid messages. Come at me, bro. Come at me, bro. There's nothing in life. Let me see. Nothing in life that's better than the battle of good versus evil. Can I get religious with you guys today, like we used to?
Hello.
Hello, my love. How are
Okay,
you?
I'm good. Yeah, I am really excited to be on this because yesterday I was getting so triggered. I was like, what are people thinking?
Girl, it
Like,
was
what is happening?
interesting. I was uh I was surprised by some of the results. I was surprised by some of the results, I must say,
Yeah, I
because it
think
was,
it's limited too when you have the answers. Obviously, people are going to pick what
yeah.
you choose.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like for the amount of people that were picking certain answers, I was like, you definitely are in it for the wrong reasons. And that's probably why
Yeah.
you're still single.
And that's why we need to talk about it. So for those of
Mhm.
you who don't know, who just joined, a couple of days ago, I was just, yeah, a friend sent me a video. Let's rewind back. A friend sent me a video about this super funny guy on Instagram. He's got a gazillion followers, talking about like how men complain that women are just after money when men want to take the souls, the time, and they want the women to be their personal chefs and organizers and
Mhm.
therapists, and so all of that. And he was saying like it's kind of like comparing, like, if even if all she wants is your money, that's nothing compared to what you're robbing of her. And I did a video right after that. I don't know if you saw that,
I
Amanda.
did, yeah.
So I saying about like, absolutely, I agree with that, and saying that I've been with a broke person before. I'm gonna try to be really good with my details because I don't want to expose nobody. And I'm saying like that will never happen again because like being with someone who's for me, for my reality, and I understand everybody has different realities, who's financially broken, it's unimaginable because I believe that will destroy any relationship. And I'm not saying the person needs to be a billionaire or a millionaire. Everybody has their own, type of life that they want to live. All I'm saying is, I never again will I allow myself to be with a man who is living under his means and who's living below what my expectation of life is.
Yeah. I
And then
definitely feel like for men who don't have the financial resources that they want, or they have a negative mindset around money, they tend to show
Mhm,
up really toxic in relationships. And Miami's a little different. Like, I'll bring experience from Tampa because it's just a different culture. It's more family oriented in Tampa. So there is a lot more vanity, I found. Like, I was really exposed to like that Miami lifestyle when I came here, and it was a shock.
uh-huh,
And I'm from Florida. Like, I'm a Florida girl, and it's just different. But from Tampa, like, if a for example, my ex, we'll talk about, a little bit since you
mhm,
brought up your ex. He was very financially dependent on me.
mhm,
And at the time, I was in nursing school, so I was in college. I was still really young, and we were essentially living with my roommate in college. And then
mhm,
once she moved out to live with her person, he wasn't financially able to contribute like her portion. And so I was like, well, I can't pay for both of us. So we ended up moving in with his family. And honestly, with that, like, there was so much of like belittling and comments about me because he financially couldn't afford to take care of me. And
mhm.
so he gaslighted me. He talked about like nobody caring about me, like all of these things that didn't revolve around money.
Yeah.
But because he was so insecure around money, it fed into the relationship in other ways to where ultimately he ended up cheating on me multiple times. And I honestly think it all came down to money. So if a
Yes.
guy genuinely doesn't have enough money, that's not just the issue. It's like a balloon of all of these other
Yeah.
issues that fall into toxicity, not just, oh, well, you make more money than me. Like, I feel like that's a very ego, very pride thing. And
Hmm.
unless they work on themselves, then yeah, you're going to always run into those issues.
Yeah, because I think I've had this conversation with a guy I was dating for a while. Um, that when women look for men with money, it's not because of money's sake. Of course, we all like nice things and having being able to afford whatever you want. Excuse me, that's a good thing. But it's about what a man who's capable of generating money represents. A
Yeah,
man who cannot afford to build his life and create a future for himself and take care of his own stuff should not be in a relationship because a man who's incapable of generating money, generating revenue and building wealth is not capable of many things. He's not capable of managing family. He's not
yeah,
capable of managing a household. And what most women, and we're going to talk about here the general roles, right? I know it's such a diverse world right now, aka confused. We're talking about men and women in a traditional marriage.
yeah,
Uh, a woman is looking for a partner to be her provider and to be the leader of the family. A
yeah.
man is looking
Stability and
for,
alpha.
yeah, is looking for a woman who can be nurturing, who can
Mm,
be give him, generations and give him kids and give him like the lineage to his blood heritage. So if a
exactly.
woman sees a guy who can provide, she sees a guy who's weak and quite honestly, a guy who she can't respect. I know there's a lot of, and I personally know a lot of women who are the providers of their household, but that doesn't mean they have weak men necessarily. I understand there's a different concept, but a man who cannot manage finances, women see it as a weak
Yeah,
man, and that's why
yeah,
you guys, when a guy can't make money, and he goes and attacks women like, oh, women are just going after money. It's not that, baby. It's just like we want responsible men, and if you can
yeah.
like take care of your own stuff and generate revenue, you are irresponsible and borderline lazy and confused. They need to
Yeah.
grow up.
Yeah, I mean, there's two sides to the story and two sides to the coin as
Mhm.
well. So I definitely think there are certain situations, being in Miami specifically, where women are only after that. Like it kind of goes both ways. Like a
A
lot of
lot. Yeah.
women are purely after money, and a lot of men are purely after looks and like the body
Hmm.
that she has. And then I I think that the men who are saying that the women are only after their money, there's two things that could happen.
Mm.
Is either it's kind of like my ex, where they're feeling insecure because they can't really provide,
Yeah.
or they're going after the wrong women because their values and what they're looking for in a partner are misaligned. And so these women that they're going after, it's like the women who goes after the bad boys in high school and in college, and then
Mm-hmm.
we question why they're breaking our hearts. It's like if a guy is going after these certain type of women, you can't get mad if that's all they're wanting in return, right? So you have to really figure out what are you looking for. And I think when you start looking for a husband or a wife, it's totally different than dating. Like your values change and you have to look more long term. And I think that will, it kind of hinders some people as well because I couldn't imagine dating right now. I mean, to give you guys context, I've been married for 4 years now, and I've been with my husband for 7 years. So I might look young, but I at least have a lot of relationship experience. And my husband is a very high net worth individual, but there's reasons for how I attracted that, and I didn't realize at the time. But over time, as we've been together, I understand why he was so attracted to me in the beginning because I couldn't really figure it out. I came from a really insecure place when I met him.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it boils down to our expectations and what he's providing for me, because that will change my expectations with money. So if he's able to provide a sense of leadership. He shows me that he can be respected in the community. He has ambition, he has passion, he has his own goals. And for women, that's very attractive. Money was icing on the cake, but that's not something I was looking for. I was looking for a husband, and I was looking for the traits that embodied a husband. And usually, those men that kind of have all of those traits are just naturally successful because they have the traits of a successful man. So they're going to be successfully financially.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was attracted to that. And then I found out about the money later. Well, I mean, I kind of did up front, but that's not why we started dating.
Uh-huh.
And so he was attracted to me because I was so humble and because I was very nurturing and motherly, and I was that like nurse, that like somebody who could talk to, and he was really attracted to my feminine side. So he was okay with talking about money with me because our conversations never were about money.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you need to have both.
Yeah, and also like when a woman is just looking for money's sake, I think that shows immediately, and she's gonna attract the wrong type of guy. You know, the guys who are
Yeah.
really only willing to do a transaction.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest problems here in Miami. I think most cities, but you know, Miami is, I think it's a little bit on steroids. Like how things happen here is, it's all so intense. But I think there's a lot of transactionality. Is that a word? Relationships are very
It's okay.
transactional.
They are, yeah.
So like if I give you my time, I need you to give me money. Like, so the woman is giving time,
Mm-hmm.
and the man needs to give money. It's not like
Yeah.
that. Although like we're saying like men, like according to the very scientific poll that I did, men are looking. I even forgot. Let me see if I still have it.
I think
They're which
it,
one?
I think it was beauty and like acts. It was something like an act of
Beauty and
service or
smart.
something like that.
Beauty and
Oh, and
smart
smart.
one for
Yeah.
women. Uh, Taking care of her finances was actually very high. I didn't think they would get any votes for that, but they did.
Mm-hmm.
And for men, it was basically it was like a, let's say a technical tie, because it was hot. Like nobody needs a hot man, but guys, we still want you to work out. Okay, don't listen to that. Don't become.
Mm-hmm.
I can say that because I'm in the industry. Don't become fat asses. I can say whatever I want because that's not an insult. We're not hypersensitive here. But
I think there's a point in time where maybe you don't care about that, but when you're young and you're fertile and like you're looking for someone to go through life with, you want someone fit because I think human nature is you want survival of the fittest. So you want not
Yes.
necessarily a model or a bodybuilder, but you want someone who takes care of themselves. Because I don't know if anyone else is in the chat, if you want to comment on this, but for the longest time, it was so funny. I was like afraid, like when my husband and I were together, a fear of mine was that women live longer than men. And so I was like, what happens? I was like scared to love him because I was like, what happens when he passes away and we're like in our 70s and I'm like 5 years older than him? I'm literally scared, thinking 50 or 4 whatever amount of years into the future of like, what's gonna happen? Like, I'm gonna be so brokenhearted. And I think because at the hospital I saw like there's a legit thing, it's called broken heart syndrome.
Yeah.
Is where they've been together 50, 60, 70 years and their significant other passes away, and it's always the women in the hospital in the ER that are complaining of chest pain and are legit having a heart attack. And it's just symptoms of a heart attack. They're not physically having a heart attack.
After their husbands pass away.
After their husbands pass away. And so, I mean, I'm not scared anymore. This is like, when we first started dating. But yeah, I was like, I really need someone fit and who can take care of themselves. That was so important to me because I was like, I need you to live as long as I live.
True, but also what I think, honestly, and this is something I've started after, since I've been divorced I was married for 4 years too, been divorced for almost 3 now. And recently only started dating, like looking for another relationship, because I spent like maybe 2 years healing from, because my ex was the same thing, narcissistic, gaslighting, you name it. I came here to Miami broken, but we can talk about that some other time. So now that I'm looking actually for a potential partner, I also look at genetics, because when I look at like having kids, like I don't want to have kids with somebody who's gonna mess up my genetics. I want somebody who's gonna elevate.
Yeah.
So I want somebody, taller.
It is like a Darwinism. How do you say it? Darwinism.
I don't want somebody who has, I'm not gonna name call here because that's very personal. It doesn't mean anything to be an offense. But I'm not gonna marry someone and have kids with someone who, I don't know, is gonna have, let's say, addiction problems, or has a history of like some disease by choice, like people who have to make a lot of wrong mistakes, especially me. Like I work in the health industry. I need somebody to be healthy. Like health is one of the core values for me. I cannot afford to be with somebody who's not healthy by choice. Of course, if things happen with us, regardless of how much you take care of our health, is just how the world works. But if by choice you're not being healthy and having very unhealthy habits, it's a no-no. You can have all the money, all the looks, all the smartness. If you're not healthy, for me, it's like you're out.
Yeah, you have to have the same values. That's one thing that we're still kind of working on, because our values are the same and our dream life is the same and our goals, everything in the future is exactly the same, but we're so different. It's the how of getting there is it's not that that's a problem, but we just view things so differently. So we both like for example with our kids, we know that we want our kids to have their own little businesses by the age of 10, right? But it's how are we going to get to that point is where we might have arguments or disagreements on, maybe fighting. I'm not sure if we'll kind of fight about that. But I feel if we weren't aligned about our kids, like if we both didn't say, okay, we want them to have a business by the age of 10, and he was like, well, I don't care if they don't have a business at all, then like that value, that dream life, that's not aligned. So I feel like it's very important, even if you're not on the same page in the day to day, at least having those same end goals make a huge difference on a long lasting relationship.
Yeah, in everything. If you're not walking the same direction, then what's the point of walking anyway? You're gonna end up like not moving, because you're gonna tuck to one side, your spouse is gonna tuck to the other side, and you're gonna end up stuck. And that's where everything happens. Jen is sending lots of gems in here. First, she said that her grandpa died at 104. That's such a blessing, my friend. Depends on positive energy, man. Alex, more than positive energy. There's a lot of people with positive energy and weak pockets. And
weak
pockets.
Oh.
Or a weak mindset, weak principles.
Yeah.
You can be all positive vibes, but like it needs to go a little bit deeper than that.
Yeah.
Hello, Vince. Lots of fights happening in marriage. I think it's so funny that people make marriage seem so perfect. Oh, marriage is not perfect. We know that.
Yeah.
Communication, yes. Let me
And
ask you something now from the, go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say with marriage, like I remember you were saying you can go different ways. Like as long as the end goal is the same, like you can squiggle and go this way, and then this person can zigzag, and it's not exactly the same because that's what relationships are about. Is
Yeah.
they, ebb and flow, and they're not gonna be together at the same. They're not perfect, so it is gonna look messy. But at least if your destination is the same, right, you're gonna get there at some point. It just might be a little chaos until you get there. But
Yes.
I mean, that's how it is. Just like with kids, like no one's a perfect parent. So there's going to be like fights with your
Uh
kids and disagreements and frustration. But like as long as you guys are aligned and they understand your expectations and everything, then it'll work out.
huh. No,
What were you going to
absolutely.
say?
I know. Just a little comment on what you said. It's absolutely. You do not need to walk together all the time, but you need to be going in the same direction. No, I was gonna
Yeah.
ask you, because we're talking now mostly about men. Now, let's talk about women. Uh, um, from your perspective as a woman here, and what you see in couples around you and people are dating, because the answer was that men look for women to be pretty, but I had a lot of guys come in my DMs and say like, oh, that those were women responding to the poll. Men do not
Hmm.
pay attention to just that. What do you have to say about that?
I definitely feel it's a big factor, but I don't know if that's only what they look at. If it's a man who's truly looking for a wife, there's so many things that they look at.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it is being able to take care of them, not necessarily to be a housewife. Like there's many relationships where the woman is even the breadwinner. So I don't think it's in a physical sense of you need to stay home and be that like 60s housewife. But I think in a general sense of you're nurturing, your motherly, you're caring. It's a personality. Like I recently met a couple at a Miami event who they met on Love is Blind, and I was like, that's so
Uh-huh.
cool. So I need to go watch your episode now. And I ended up watching the season, and in that I learned that a lot of the relationships didn't work because it wasn't something that the men could pinpoint, but they just didn't feel like the women could be mothers of their children. And
Mm.
it has embodied so many different traits, and they all kind of said like different variations of it, but in a summarized version, it's they just couldn't see them right now being a mom. And a
Mm.
lot of men have different viewpoints of what a mom looks like. There are some
Sure.
guys who want a more conservative mom, um, who, if you're wearing, which I mean, I did this before I met my husband. Now it's different because his
Uh-huh.
viewpoint on what he wants is different. So I didn't change, but I agree. I was like, okay, I need to be more conservative. But
Mm-hmm.
like if you're a mom and you're walking around in G strings and like the really teeny tiny bikinis and
Yeah.
stuff, like it kind of, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, at least for me, because I am more conservative, I feel
Yeah.
like it has a not so good impact, especially when you're with your kid. And half the time I'm thinking, man, like I would be so embarrassed if I was that kid. I mean, I get the relationship is different and like they're probably mega close, but I would be mortified if I saw my mom walking around in a G string on the beach. Like, mom, cover up. Like, even, as a child, I was super close with my mom. And
Uh-huh.
I still just don't think I could have done that. And a lot of men, they see a woman and she's super pretty and she's hot and, she might be fun to hang out with or like to have a fling, but like
Yeah.
long term, I think it's like not even an option, not even something they think about
Sure.
because of how a woman portrays herself. And it's more than just what you're physically wearing. I think it's the way your mannerisms are, the words you
Yeah. The way you
use,
behave.
how, how you are in a group of friends. Like, do you have only guy friends
Mm-hmm.
or do you have a ton of girlfriends? I don't think religion is a big thing, but a lot of times that can play a major impact.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So
I think,
I'm a little different than you. I think religion is a major thing.
yeah, I mean,
Major.
it's
But
because my
that's the
husband
thing.
doesn't,
It's for
you know,
person to person, right?
exactly. Yeah. So it just depends on
It
the person. Is some people
depends.
like
Yeah.
you have to be a certain belief, and then others they don't believe anything at all. So
Yeah. It's because I've often questioned that ever since becoming single. Because like I'm a Christian, and here in Miami, I've met so many people from so many different faiths, and I'm a strong believer of religious plurality. I really believe that God has a different way of speaking to different people. I'm not those type of
Mhm.
Christian who believe like only I'm right, only I'm going to heaven. No, it's like I'm too humble to try to figure out world's higher power. So I know how God speaks to me. I don't know how God speaks to you, how God speaks to so and
Mhm.
so. It's not on my place to try to understand that. But for me, it's really important. Like once again, after since becoming single, I've met and went out on dates with Muslims, with Jewish guys, with atheists, and I was like, what am I really doing? Because I do not see myself in the future raising children with people who do not share the same religious belief that I do. I'm not
Yeah.
saying like we need to have exactly the same beliefs, because even the way we talk to God, like I said, I believe is different. But if I'm talking about Jesus and the other guy's talking about Allah, it's like
Yeah.
it's confusing for the kids.
I
So for
definitely
me,
think
it's like once
if
again,
you
that's a
are
that's a deal
religious,
breaker.
yeah, if you are religious and you have, you're not like a more spiritual kind of,
Hmm.
oh, you kind of have a general belief, but if you have a strong belief and you are a certain religion, then yes, it would be a deal breaker. I just meant like in general,
Yeah,
because
but I
we're
think
talking
it's
about everybody, like, the religion can play a part and it might not
uh,
play a part in others. So it depends on the couple.
but I think it's everything, right, girl? It's like whatever is the most important thing for you, like you said, like being an entrepreneur for
Mhm.
your kids. Let's say you're in a parallel universe. Your husband would be like a 9 to 5 worker. He wouldn't have the same entrepreneurial mindset as you.
Yeah.
So that could have been like a deal breaker for you. And I think it's also about what are your core beliefs. Same thing for me for health. I can never be with a guy who ordered pizza for breakfast, which I had, and that's why it didn't work. Like, bye, like this
Yeah.
is not my life.
Yeah.
So whatever is like your core thing,
Hmm.
I think that's what you should aim to look for in the other person. But I have a question here from Carlos, a great friend that I met in Vegas. He's saying, how do we help more women thrive and go for their wildest dreams and
Mm.
care what people think? I didn't quite understand the last one, Carlo, but that's a great question. How do we help more women thrive and go for their wildest dreams? My love, I'm gonna let you answer that since you're
Okay.
married, and I know your hubby super supports you. So give us your
Yeah.
perspective.
So one thing that I actually think everyone should do, and I feel like we kind of do this, but on a more surface level,
Mm-hmm.
in order to really thrive in a relationship, the woman herself needs to sit down and envision where she wants to be in 1 year,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of her relationship. Like she needs to do it for herself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you get down to it, you like this is not just like surface level, oh, what kind of, like a bogus, oh, I just want to have this X amount, like, and have like a 2 minute conversation in your head and be like, oh, I want this and this and this. And it's kind of like, there's no motivation for you to take action on it. But if you
Mm-hmm.
sit down and get really personal, okay, when you wake up in the morning, who's in the bed with you? Is it your kids, your dog, your husband? Are you alone in the bed? Like, what kind of bed do you have? What are the colors of your room? What does your room look like? When you look out of your window, what do you see? Are you on the beach? Are you in the mountains? Are you in the city? Are you in a penthouse? What does your
Mm-hmm.
closet look like? Your bathroom? What kind of things are in your bathroom? Like, what are your essentials? Like, getting down to everything, to your dream car and the color, and you have a notification from your bank and you look at it. Do you look at the notification because you're like stressed about money and you want to see how much is in there? Is there a certain number that you want in the bank? Is it that you don't even
Mm-hmm.
care because you know that you're fine? Like, I think if we really sit down and do this like dream life in 1 year, then we're able to pinpoint exactly what action to take. And the reason
Mm-hmm.
I bring this up is because I just did this. So a lot of what I talk about is from my personal experience. And so I don't want this to be a place of like
Yeah.
ego, but I did my dream life. And as I'm getting asked questions, or as I'm thinking of the questions, I'm answering it immediately. And I have this realization of, oh, wow, I already have that. And like even the dream car, like came up with this dream car, and like I could do honestly with like a white Cadillac, whereas we have a black Suburban, but it's pimped out black Suburban with like nice rims, and it has the skylights inside of it and everything, little TVs on the back. So when we have kids, or like if Rudy wants to be in the back with the dogs, he can have his
Mm-hmm.
laptop HDMI, and everything that I'm going through, I'm kind of like, well, that's why I've been stuck for so long, is because my dream life or like my
Mm-hmm.
goals, like all of these questions that I'm being asked that I'm envisioning, I I already have it in a sense. Like waking up on the beach and be like I just feel like my life is, I'm so blessed. Like everything that I could possibly
Mm-hmm.
want, I have. And I don't mean this in like I'm not bragging. This is like a genuine like, if I have all these things that I'm dreaming of in the future, then what are my goals? What am I taking
Yeah.
action on? Like maybe that's why I haven't, like for example, with working out. If
Mm-hmm.
you're a woman who has a naturally great body, or if you have plastic surgery or something like that, and you know that you need to work out, you're not going to be as motivated compared to someone who doesn't like their body, or wants to lose a few
No, it's
pounds.
what
Like
they
if you
say.
already look good, then
The lion at the bottom of the mountain is always hungrier than the lion at the top of the
yeah.
mountain.
So that's why I feel you really need to sit down with yourself and think about your dream life. And are you there? No. If
Mm-hmm.
you are, great. But okay, how can you expand on those dreams, and what's like the next step? And that will give you so much clarity,
Uh-huh.
focus. So like if you don't like your job, okay, like it just answers so many questions for you of things that you need to change. Maybe the relationship isn't the relationship you need to be in, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe you're looking for the wrong things, or maybe your values are like totally misaligned with what your dream is. So I feel like hopefully that helped answer the question.
I think it did. I think it did a lot. And like now for me, from a single woman standpoint, I think what I uh being single for, and even when I was in relationships, I know I still felt like I was single, as sad as it is. But it's tapping into which is something like you and me talked a lot about, Amanda, and like with our friends in our circle. It's tapping into that feminine side
Mm-hmm.
of, when I'm gonna use such a proper language now, when I'm being courted by someone, as
When you're
like
being what?
courted, like
Oh yeah,
someone a man is courting me.
the little English use of it.
Yes, proper English. It's like I don't want to come off such a, a badass independent woman. Not to say that I'm toning it down. That's not what I'm saying. Absolutely do not tone down, because if you need to tone down to meet a guy, you're gonna have to keep toning it down for the rest of your life. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm
Yeah.
saying is put myself in the position of woman that I like to be in a relationship. And that means letting the guy take initiative for the things that I think he should take initiative. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, make the reservation. Yes, open the doors. Yes, like take care of me. Like when I'm walking on the sidewalk, take the outside part of it, like be protective and
Yeah.
being more feminine rather than just when I'm rolling by myself, which is my natural
Yeah.
default. It's
Yeah.
like just being strong and like carrying all the groceries and doing all those things and hanging on the walls. Like I don't need to do that when
Yeah.
I'm with a guy.
That's such a
Not
good
not
point.
not because I don't know how to, but because I don't want to. It's like I saw this amazing reel one time, was this girl saying exactly about this. She's like, I'm okay with being an independent woman. Like I know how to hang my stuff on the wall. I know how to get my groceries. I know how to change a tire. I don't want to. I don't want to
Yeah.
do any of those things. They lied to us. We don't want to be independent like that. And I stand with her. I do not
Yeah.
want to
Like you can
allowing, like,
take care of yourself and you could be by yourself, but you choose you don't want to be.
I don't
You
want
choose
to.
to be with somebody.
I pray God, like God, I'm tired of carrying my own groceries. I don't want this anymore. I I want my husband is
Yeah.
gonna come. It's like, well, as soon as I get in the door, he's gonna be already there, like with his big ass muscles. Like, I got you, babe. That's it.
Yeah.
So it's like little things like that. Like if I'm out on a date with a guy, I'm not gonna be, so quick to take care of myself because I want him to take care of me.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, like, and
And a
that's
lot of it is
Carlos. I don't know
learning
if you're
too.
saying here.
So you might automatically want him, if you're like walking on the inside, for him to go and be protective and go on the outside. some guys, not that they need training, but they don't know what you're thinking. I feel like as women, we do all these like tests of like, let me do this and see if he does that. Not necessarily I'm going to test him to break up with
Yeah.
him, but just like to see his reaction. I feel I did that with my husband so many times. Let me see what he'll do if I do this. And it's like a quick thing
Yes.
too. It's not like oh, I'm going to do it out of spite or I'm doing it to like think a certain way. It's just like I think it just comes naturally to women. It's very just like do these situations to see what they to say or like how they act. And it does need to be communicated. That's where communication comes in. Is I had to ask him. I mean, I kind of knew, but like whenever we go to restaurants, he would make me sit in a certain seat, right? And at a certain point, I was like, "How come you always like I go to sit down and then you just like essentially take the chair away from me?" He's like, no, I need to sit here and you go over there. And I'm like, it's kind of, to me, I was like, that's not gentlemanly. Like, you're supposed to take my chair out for me and all this and that. And he's like, no, I need to face the door. Or like if we're in a hotel room, I need to be next to here. So I'm not doing it to be rude. But I think that way. And so you go to sit down in like the chair he wants to be sat in. And so he just like, no, you need to sit here, right? And so I think communication plays a big role in being more feminine or more masculine. And we have to be careful because you don't want to, like you said, you don't want to tone it down too much to where that's what he expects. And then the minute that you start to go back to who you are previously, they're like, oh, well, you changed. And then vice versa, is you don't want to put yourself in a position of constantly trying to get a reaction out of them either. So
Yeah. I really think that's the secret. It's just really, and one thing, like if I might add to it, I was having this conversation at a date actually, talking about how, I'll be 40 in October, and dating now has been
wait,
so
you're an
much better.
October baby? I think we talked about this.
October baby.
Yeah, we're both Libras.
No. Oh, I'm a
Yeah.
Scorpio.
Oh no.
Oh,
We'll still get
no.
along great.
What? I'm a good
We
Scorpio.
still get along great. It's fine.
October Scorpios are the best Scorpios.
I know. Yeah,
They're good.
that's what it says. It's fine.
My brother is a Libra. Uh,
Okay.
but I was having this conversation actually. So like dating in my almost 40s has been so much easier because I am like you understand the game. I'm not sure everybody does at this age, but now I understand the game. Because before, when you're dating and you're younger, like I used to have that, like which is you don't think it's just subjective, but you think like I need to perform and I need to make him like me, which
Yeah.
it's deceiving from both ways. The guys are saying like I need to make her fall in love with me, I need to make her understand that I got my shit together. But if you don't, then you have no foundation, and the relationship crumbles. Is what's happened with me. My ex, he made me believe in such a life that wasn't true. And when we got, oof, I almost said it because I don't want to say which ex was it. You guys probably know, but I'm just trying to be respectful with him. But so when the relationship ended, you know, before we finalized it formally, it didn't have any foundation. What he conquered me with, which is not money, but it's a life, it's a role, if it's a personality. All of that was made believe to conquer me, because I was already in fitness. I was just fitness competitor, and he portrayed himself as being like, yeah, I'm super healthy, I go to the gym, I'm going to do a competition, I have my shit together, and this is my car, this is my house, this is like my life, which none of that was true. But for me, the same, when I was dating, trying to perform, I was trying to like be like this super likable and making comments that I naturally wouldn't make, or like accepting things that I naturally wouldn't accept to be liked. What is now,
or to like make it work, like if you're already
to make
dating
it
the
work.
person.
Exactly, like I need to make this work. Right now, it's like I'm not changing myself, what I accept, what I don't, what I want, and what I don't want, because if I do and I get the relationship, it's not going to have a foundation. Because I have two options. I either you know uh become who I really am, and to the risk of like lots of fighting in the relationship, or I'm going to have to live the rest of my life pretending and lying, and I'm not about that. So now when you're dating and you're coming from the perspective like I'm really just being me, and if she likes me the way I am, that's amazing. If it doesn't, that's okay. Mwah. God bless you. Bye.
I think we can It depends, I think, on how long you've been together. But when you hit a roadblock where you guys aren't on the same page, or there's something that the other person is doing where you're really just against it and you don't want to break up, but you also need to communicate, hey, you're eating pizza for breakfast. I can't handle this. And this is something my and I have done, I think, 2 or 3 times now in our whole relationship. Of we were getting to a point where we were fighting a lot, and we were starting to have doubts and question, like, are we really meant for each other? Because we're just fighting about all of this stupid stuff. And what ended up happening is we did a pros and cons list of uh, everything I love about you and everything that will cause us to get. And at the time we weren't married, so not a divorce, but will cause us to break up. If this stays the same, this we won't be together. And we listed it all out, and we had a really big heart to heart. And they're always a really emotional conversation, because when somebody says all of these things that they don't like about you, or all these things that they say you can't be doing this, or I'm going to leave you, it doesn't feel good. But now you know exactly, like, a lot of the things that we were fighting about, it wasn't that fight, it was about something else. Like, a lot of guys, you could probably agree with me, is girls, we struggle with being on time. However, that was really, really, really important to my husband.
Being
exactly.
British, I bet.
Yeah. And he actually said it has nothing to do with me being on time. The stinger here, I'll drop this little knowledge bomb for people, was he said that I am not reliable or trustworthy because I always say, oh, I'm going to be here at this time, and then I'm not. And so that bled into this whole other thing in our relationship with so many other areas. And it was just simply because I took too long getting ready in the bathroom. But it had a major impact on all these other things, because he started to believe that I could not be trusted with what I said, because I couldn't keep my word with something as simple as being on time. And so it just like blew up and escalated. So then once I understood like how big that was for him, I was like, holy cow. So I really, really, really focus on making sure that I'm on time whenever he wants to go do something, because I know how that can affect him.
Yeah,
And I think without doing that, we wouldn't have known what to be on the same page with or accept. And if, like, for example, if I continue to be late and not be on time and like not work on it and just be like, oh, well, you just need to accept that I'm a girl and I take longer, and like I fuss about it, we wouldn't be together. And we would have to have broken up. So I think if you communicate and you have that understanding and you know what to work on, you can choose to work on it and continue to grow and figure it out, and then that becomes a healthy relationship. But if you talk about it and you're like, hey, you're eating pizza for breakfast in the morning, I don't like this, and then he continues to do that, or like gets mad at you for being mad at him for that, that's where you just have to draw the line and be like, you know what, we tried, we made this work. It's and cut it off.
I'm so like happy you and your husband had this conversation, because it's very mature of you, because it's very, very rarely it's the thing, it's usually what the thing represents. So like being late, it's not the problem, it's like what being late means to him and how does it affect him. From my
and that was one
perspective,
example. We both had multiple examples of multiple different things.
Like for me, for example, like my ex not being healthy, not prioritizing his health, it's not necessarily that it bothers me some way. It's that I think, like you said, down the line, 30 years from now, let's say we have kids together, 30 years from now, I'm taking care of your amputated foot, of your diabetes, and of your blindness, because you're having pizza for breakfast instead of traveling the world enjoying our grandkids. So those are the things that it's what it means. It's not necessarily, I couldn't care less if you eat pizza. Like I eat cookies for breakfast every now and then, but I got my shit together. So
yeah, like what Carlos said about how it means, which that was another point that my husband brought up too, is that I'm not respectful to others. So it's like it's a bunch of different things that
Carlos has a great question here.
Yeah.
Carlos said, Carlos, thank you so much for participating. This is so helpful because, we need to talk. Men and women need to talk. How do we help women remove those limits where they care so much about what other people think about them, so they can be their true self all the time? I can answer that in a minute, then you jump in. Carlos, I really believe a woman who really loves you, if you make her feel like she's the bomb.com, if you make her feel so secure, so loved, so like that her presence lights up the world, like nobody else's opinion is gonna matter as much as yours. I
Mhm.
personally believe when two become one, like that is my person. Like that's the most important person for me in the world because like I said, to become one, you're part of me now. If I'm validated by you, if I'm encouraged by you, if I'm protected, if I'm stimulated by you, if I'm honored by you, if I'm praised by you, nobody else's opinion is gonna matter. So maybe
Mhm.
I think for men out there who are dealing with women who have insecurities, which we all do, is like maybe you need to pour a little bit more in the woman because it's like I think like I said, I'm a Christian, so I watch a lot of preaching. There's this preacher, he said once, like, women will give you back 10 times whatever you give them. That comes like you give them, let's get like very visual here. You give her the seeds and she'll give you a child in back. If you give her a house, she'll turn it into a home. If you give her money, she'll turn that into a provision for your whole family. And if you give her love, dude, like she's gonna love you so much more. A good woman, we're not talking about the I was about to say HOE. No, we're not talking about those. We're talking about real women who are looking for real
Mhm.
relationships. So if you pour security into her, if you pour her like confidence and just like, which is really like, if you're with her, of course you admire her, of course you love her.
Mhm.
So just make sure she knows, not just like, oh yeah, she knows. No, verbalize it. We need to listen. We need to know.
Yeah.
Like, we like to listen. As much as you tell me I'm pretty, keep telling it. It's never enough.
Yeah.
Keep communicating.
Especially because a lot of women, if they have insecurities or past trauma, they genuinely don't believe you. That was something I posted recently about. Um, Someone asked me a question of how did you know your husband was the one, and I said that he stayed with me and supported me through all of my trauma that I unleashed onto him. He's the one
Mm-hmm.
who had to deal with it all. Is you can pour as much love as you can into a woman, but until she heals herself, she's always going to be in a not good mindset, right? She's always going to have insecurities that pop up. Is I kind of band-aided a lot of my insecurities, and so
Mm-hmm.
my husband would say, I love you and you're so beautiful. And I remember there was one time we actually had a fight about this and I got really emotional.
Mm.
Is I thought he was lying to me.
Oh.
Is I was like from such a bad place,
Mm-hmm.
and how my exes talked to me, that I was like, you're just saying that, like, it's become, you know how like when you say like I love you so many times,
Yeah.
right, it becomes like monotonous. So I was telling him, I was like, oh, you're just saying that because you feel like you have to, you don't actually believe that. And I was like fighting with him because he was complimenting me. So I think you have to allow the woman, if you are filling her with love and are doing everything that you can, and she still has these insecurities and mindset issues, then I think the next step is to gently bring up, maybe needing a coach, or maybe needing like therapy or
Mm-hmm.
somebody other than yourself to talk to, because it's embarrassing. There's a lot of shame and guilt behind traumas, and you don't really want to talk about that with a significant other, especially in a new relationship, because you think that they're going to leave. Like, once they find out all of this bad stuff about you and what happened in the past, they're not going to want to be with you anymore. So allowing them space and like privacy to heal, and giving them that time. I think that was the biggest thing with my husband, is we had so many heart to hearts, and he really supported me and allowed me to grow into the person that I am
Mm-hmm.
today. And I wouldn't be where I am today without my husband. So he loved me as much as he could, but love isn't enough, not all the time. So it depends on the woman and her trauma and where she's at with her healing journey, especially women who are divorced
Yeah.
or have kids and are leaving a toxic relationship. They have a lot of things that are messed up from the previous person, that if they jump into a relationship right away, those things are never
Locked.
fixed.
Locked.
And
People ask me like, why are
no.
why are you still single? I'm like, I wasn't in any place to be in a relationship in the last 2.5 years. No way. I'm always
Mm-hmm.
shocked to see women, men too, like they get out of a divorce, even if it's a healthy divorce. Even it's hard. It comes with grief. Like you're
Yeah.
grieving a relationship that you thought was gonna be forever. Doesn't need to be toxic as mine was. There's so many layers of healing you need to do, and I'm still think I still don't think I'm over. I think it's an ongoing process.
Well,
Like
things
whatever,
constantly pop
yeah,
up too. At
whatever
least for
happened
me.
to you, I'm sure like it's different stages of healing. Of course, you can like, of course,
Hmm.
you are in a healthy relationship now. So, but those wounds, they go deep. You need time to heal. You need time. Like, don't rush into something,
Hmm.
and pass on the hurt to another person. Now, I have
Yeah.
whatever happened to me. It's my responsibility to had it allowed happening to me, and of course, it can go all the way back to childhood trauma. But it's also my responsibility to be responsible, not to sound redundant now, and don't pass that on to other people.
Hmm.
I would never ever forgive myself if I caused the same trauma on my next relationship that I was caused to in my previous relationships. I
Yeah.
do not want that karma. Like, if God gave me that, it's for a healing purpose, and it's like to heal and to cut off like whatever generational curses I have going on, and to start a clean slate. So yeah, take time to heal.
But for you, I also feel like a good guy would accept you where you are and will continue to help you.
Absolutely.
Is
Yeah.
at a certain point, having that support system is going to just expedite your healing journey.
And I'm like now in a position that I'm okay to be in a relationship, because now like I've done my alone time, I've done my thing, I've done my healing, I've done all the things I want to do being by myself. And I'm okay to allow somebody into my life as long as he adds and he understands. Like you said, like he helps me. I don't want a man that I'm gonna have to I want a man that he's gonna guide me, he's gonna help me so we can build this future together.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think with being like allowing him, like that's where you're in a more feminine state, is being vulnerable and allowing him to comfort you is going to make him step up as well,
Mm-hmm.
because then he can portray that masculine trait. And I think a masculine trait, we didn't talk about it before, but besides like what a woman is drawn to, like with money and a good body and maybe having a good family or lots of good friends, or the typical things that we kind of look for in our checklist.
Mm-hmm.
One, for me, like the biggest thing a man can have and what would draw a woman to a man. So if there's any single men watching this is like a big one, and this might be something that you need to focus on,
Take
is
notes.
if you are in a position where other men are looking up to you, respecting you, you are a mentor to other men, you are essentially a leader to other men, then that woman, you might not be the most successful financially or have this like massive legacy and everyone knows your name and are a social media star and all this other stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
if a woman can look at you and they see this like circle of men that are following you and being mentored or being led by you, that shows so much stability, so much power, so much strength. Like all of the masculine traits that that person embodies, that's what a feminine person is going to be drawn to. And I think that's why I was so drawn to my husband, is what I was saying a long time ago, is money was icing on the cake, but because he was such a pillar to other men, I was like, oh my God, he's the most masculine, alpha leader, like all of the things. Like, I just couldn't
Yeah.
resist. Like, a truly feminine person could not resist that masculinity of a man. And I think if you look at a lot of the powerhouse couples,
Yeah.
that's exactly what the men is. Like, if you look at, um, like Sandy, she's probably not in here anymore, but her husband is the CEO to Grant Cardone, right?
Yeah.
He has all of these men under him. Look at Grant Cardone as a man. Trump.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of celebrities like The Rock. He's like such a pillar, and his woman. She is so feminine. I don't remember her name right now. The Rock's
Elena.
wife. Yes. Um,
Yeah, she's
but
a
I
powerhouse.
yeah, I think if you have that type of man, then money doesn't matter because they're just naturally going to be successful
Mm-hmm.
with whatever they do.
Yeah. That's all. That's all. I think like I'm just reflecting. Ah, we could talk about this for hours. I think we should do
I
more of that.
know.
We should definitely
Yeah,
do
that
more
would be really
of that.
good. Yeah, and
My
having
love.
like trust too. I think in a relationship where you constantly feel like the person could be unfaithful, that's never gonna work. Like you need to they should be able to go to Vegas with all of their friends, whether it's a guy or a
Yeah.
girl, and you have absolute faith that you don't even need to check their phone because you could go to bed and just go to sleep naturally and not even worry about what they're doing because you trust them that much.
Yeah. No, that's actually, we had this conversation now that I was in Vegas. It's like, somebody asked me, like, would you let your husband or your boyfriend, whatever, come to Vegas? I'm like, absolutely yes. Like,
Yeah.
because, like, for me, if I have to refrain him from doing something that he wants, then what's the point? I can let him go and like you do whatever you want. It's up to you if you're gonna be faithful or not. It doesn't affect me. It affects
Yeah.
you. So and like a guy, I've been cheated on so many times. A guy can cheat on you whatever he wants. He doesn't need to go to Vegas to do that. Of course, if he's dumb enough to put himself in situations that makes that easier, then he's just being careless and naive.
Yeah. And it's almost something that if that's gonna happen, I'd rather just say, you know what, yes, let him go to Vegas, and if he messes up, then there's my answer, and I know I can finally
Exactly.
stop wasting my time and move on.
That's exactly how I think, girl. Like for me, it's like throw him to the lions, like ASAP.
See what he does.
To survive is good. I don't want him. I don't want to find out like 10 years later and that he's an asshole and then he's like,
Yeah.
then he can't handle it. I want to find out like as soon as possible. My love, I think we need to shut this down, sadly, because I
Yeah.
have a call now. But this has been so amazing. Like it looked like we talked about 10 minutes.
We have so much to continue to go over, but we'll have to do another session.
Absolutely.
We'll do like episode 2, part 2.
Episode
Coming
2,
back.
send questions. Let's talk about relationship
Yeah,
with
we'll
the
get
Amandas.
juicy.
We could do a series. Getting
I love that.
with the Amandas.
Ooh. Okay.
Let's
I'll have
think
to
about
make
our
a
name.
graphic.
Yes, absolutely. My love, it's been a pleasure.
It's been so wonderful.
Love you. Thank you guys for
Yeah.
participating.
Thank you guys so much.
Bye.
Bye.